Hello, my name is Douglas Bloch. I'm an author and a depression survivor. Welcome to another edition of One-on-One with a Depression Counselor. Today's topic is healing old wounds to heal from depression. Now, many of us know that one of the cardinal features of depression is chronic sadness. As a matter of fact, in the DSM-5, they list that as the first and primary symptom, ongoing sadness throughout most of the day. But where does the sadness come from? Is it simply a biological phenomenon, or could there be causes that are more complex? In working with myself and my clients, I have found that oftentimes this sadness is caused by childhood trauma and wounds. Often these wounds are caused by things like a divorce, or a death of a parent, or abandonment, or neglect, or abuse. And what happens when these wounds occur is they often continue on into adulthood. In this case, depression is not just a biological phenomenon, it's a psychological one as well, and it needs to be treated through what I call therapeutic processes. And today I want to introduce or talk to you about two processes that have really helped me and others. One is called original pain work, and the other is called healing the inner child or parenting the inner child. So let's start with original pain work. This means going back into childhood and grieving whatever wounds you were not able to grieve at the time. For example, in my video, When Loss Leads to Depression, I talked about the great poet Sylvia Plath, how her father had died at the age of 9, and she was not even allowed to talk about the death, any of her feelings around the death. She couldn't even go to the funeral. So what traumatized her was not the trauma, but the repression of the trauma. And this led to a deep depression as an adult that eventually culminated in her suicide. Now, if Sylvia had been able to do original pain work as an adult, the therapist would have taken her back to the time of her childhood, and she would have been able to feel the grief about her father's death that she wasn't able to feel at the time. And since sadness is nature's healing feeling, feeling that sadness, feeling that grief, going through it would have cleared the pain out of her system, so it wouldn't have haunted her as an adult. So we've all had the experience of watching a young child play, fall down on the playground, scrape his knee and start to cry. So what happens? We pick up the child, we comfort the child, cries, and suddenly, after a while, the crying stops, the child gets up, goes back to play. It's as if the incident never happened. And this is how feeling the pain fully allows us to let it go. Now, original pain work is not easy to do. It takes a therapist. It's hard to do it by oneself. And it takes time. But while mourning past losses is painful, it is the only way to really get free of them. Remember what we talked about earlier, the only way out is through? When our losses are properly mourned and grieved, we can come back to life again. And so anybody who is still holding on to pain of unresolved losses or trauma in childhood, find a good therapist, do this kind of work. There's a lot been written about it. John Bradshaw wrote a really good book called Homecoming. And just type in Google original pain work and see what has been written about it. It's a very effective way of healing old traumas and getting free of the depression they bring to us as adults. Now, the second process that can be used to heal depression therapeutically is what we call parenting the inner child. I know in the 1990s, the word inner child was bandied about. Some people thought it was a fad, but it's not so. We all have a child state. We all have a child residing within us. And when that child is suffering from, again, the effects of lack of love when we were younger, parenting the inner child means getting into the parenting role within yourself, that part of yourself, and giving that child within you the love, attention, time, affection that it didn't have originally. Now, what often happens, and it's happened to me many times, I'm sure to many of you, is we try to get other people to fix this. We try to get other people to meet our frozen needs. But when that occurs, we're very often disappointed and let down. There's only one person that can really consistently give you the unconditional love you desire, and that is yourself. As one therapist said, of all the people you will ever know, you are the only one who will never leave you. So you're the one you can depend upon, and parenting the inner child means going within, finding the parent within yourself, and taking care of that young one who is crying out for love and affection. So I would now like to introduce to yourself two representations of my inner child. The first I'm going to call, or I call, Little Doug. He's right here. And whenever I want to comfort myself, I turn to little Doug and give him a hug. Do you know that when you get a hug for 20 seconds, it releases the neurotransmitter oxytocin, which is the transmitter of bonding, and it also is nature's antidepressant and anti-anxiety drug. So try to get a 20-second hug a day, and if you can't find one, give it to yourself. Get a doll like this. The second representation of my inner child is this guy over here. I call him Boy Doug, and I hug this guy because he's very huggable, but I talk to this guy whenever I'm feeling down and out and want some words of assurance. I just tell him I love him and he's a really good kid, and I'm there for him. So both of these figures are a really important part of my working with my inner child and healing myself. And every day, sometime during the day, or maybe more than once, I'll sit down and I'll put these guys on my lap and I'll check in and I'll say, little Doug, Boy Doug, how are you feeling? What's going on? Do you need anything right now? Is there anything I can do for you? How can I help you feel loved and connected? And I just close my eyes like this and listen, and then I respond to what they say, just as if these were my real kids. I've had some experience in co-parenting 2 children, so I know what that feels like. Maybe some of you have been parents, maybe some of you have nieces and nephews, but all of us were children once, so we know what this part of us needs, and it's up to us to really love and nurture that part and really give it the affection that perhaps it never had until now. This is a very potent way to reconnect with yourself, to achieve a certain type of inner wholeness that we all strive for, that is so important to healing from depression. So I encourage you, well, he doesn't want to go away yet. Whoops, let's get him back here. Hey guy, not so soon. So I encourage you, all of you, to go out and find dolls like these, or animals, stuffed animals, whatever represents your inner child to you, and get them and start to hang out with them and talk to them and develop a relationship with them. They can help you externalize and make tangible this relationship to this part of yourself that is living and breathing and is real inside of you, that you need to connect with to really feel whole and healed and connected. And so this is a wonderful technique. I think every adult should have a child or a doll like this. And believe me, if you try this out, it will help. And if you've already done this, leave some comments in the comments section in this YouTube video and let me know how connecting with your inner child is helping you. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I guess little Doug here and Boy Doug wish you the best, and until we meet again, all of us wish you the best in your mental health recovery. Thank you.